Hey guys, welcome to the Glen. As you may have just noticed from my sudden throttle lift, I am just about to get to my break point for turn 1. It's a little before the 300 marker. On this particular lap that I'm put together for this walkthrough, I dove a little bit deeper than I'd like to, but the lap time seemed to work out best for the session, so it's not too bad, but I would recommend don't track out any further than I do for this lap and you'll be in good shape. So again, a little before the 300 marker is where I start to brake there. That's about the best reference I've been using. And the car can get a little fun through here. Sometimes the back can step out, but more often than not, the front decides that it doesn't want to turn in and it'll just keep going straight. So brake modulation is key here, and once you start to turn in, let off that brake pressure so the front tires actually have the grip to turn. Now for this turn, I clipped this rumble strip a little bit. You can take the whole thing. Theoretically, you can take the whole thing, but it upsets the car and it doesn't help you turn as well because you can see there's a lot more camber here and it's flat here. And the space you gain by clipping this is not going to help you as much as this camber for carrying speed. So don't go too much beyond about here if you can. And my general target is I want my entire car to be all over this white rumble strip. And as you can see, I'm still turning and I'm at that space, so I didn't hit my target. I overshot a little bit. And this is about as far as you can get away with without it sacrificing too much time. Any further than this, you can go over here without getting an off track, but your lap time will suffer for it. Oh, and another note, you do need to get off of this rumble strip before, or off of this pavement before it ends, because that's not good. So I'm already at partial throttle because we do not have the grip to make it through here on full throttle. I actually shifted right about here to 4th gear where this path is, and I didn't quite get to full throttle since then. And so I'm trying to modulate my throttle. I'm trying to stay, I can hit this rumble strip a little bit, but mainly I'm trying to follow this yellow line as tight as I can. And then I'm going to get to full throttle for a little while, but then as soon as this yellow turns to white up here, that's where I'm not turning right anymore and I want to get off of this line and get to the left. It's a pretty narrow window where you can get over to the left side here without sacrificing speed, and it seems like right where that changes colors is a good reference point. Now you can, again, theoretically you can take this curb. If you go too far up here where the curb ends, you will get a 1x, but you won't get a slowdown or anything from doing that. But it's not going to help your lap time because you can kind of see this is raised up. It's a pretty good bump. And while the car can handle that, it's going to skitter to the right a little bit, and it gets extremely tight through here. So you do not want your car bouncing around and sliding to the right. So if you can get very close to this without really hitting it, that seems to be the best bet. And that time I didn't get quite as close to the right wall, which is fine because if you get too close, you'll hit it, and that's not good for your lap time. But generally you can carry a little bit more speed through there than I did. On this particular lap it seemed to work out just fine, but again, you can get pretty tight to that, and you want to get as tight as you can without actually, shoving the car through it. So right as the wall here starts to kink over a bit, I'd say right around here-ish is where I've been braking. You don't want to, I haven't had any success trying to push it all the way to where this black barrier is because we have a crest here, and as you go over that crest, your tires lose a lot of mechanical grip, and you need that mechanical grip to slow down. So it definitely works best in my testing for this and from last season to slow down a little bit sooner, right about here, hit the brakes, and roll through the corner versus trying to slow down a little later, because this car does not like going around the outside of this corner. And to that note, when there's Nissans coming up, they carry a ton of speed through here compared to our car. So if you see one coming, commit to the right before your brake point, make it clear you want to stay to the inside. They'll be able to go around the outside and stick like glue without trouble, and you won't careen off the track because you'll already be to the right. And this car likes the inside of this corner much better than the outside. So again, getting to the inside. And then a little after this path, you can kind of see where there's a kink here. Start rolling onto the throttle there. And after I pass this fence here, which you saw a moment ago, I start getting more on the throttle, and quite shortly after that I'm at full throttle. And the goal here is to get very close to that. You can run over this white rumble strip a little bit, but you don't want to take the whole car onto it, because right here the rumble strip ends, and that's not good. So right where, let's see if I can get a better shot. You can kind of see where the pavement changes color right about here. And it's not a great braking point, but it seems to work pretty well for me. And I've had mixed success. Sometimes I have good success getting in really early and holding tight there. Sometimes it works better if I stay wide like I did this lap, and then tucking in for a late apex. Try what works best for you, but if you leave the door open like I just did for a late apex, if there's someone right there and they can tuck inside you, well, so much for that position. And so as we're getting to the end of this fence here, you can kind of see where that shadow ends, at least for this time of day. That's where I'm starting to roll onto the throttle. That's about the best point I've got for reference, but at speed it feels a little better, and you can kind of get a feel for where you can start rolling onto the throttle. And what you want to do here is you can, again, take this white rumble strip, but stay out of this crud. It's no good. Now I feel like I brake about here in between the 3 and the 2, but after reviewing this, it looks like I brake a lot closer to the 3. There's multiple ways to take this corner. I'm still not sure what I like to do through here, and I'm fairly inconsistent, so try a couple things and see what works best. So one way, which I'm kind of doing on this lap, is to stay a little bit further out. You can ride this whole concrete patch. These patches, by the way, are great reference points. Learn all your stuff off of these patches when you can, because they work great and they do not move. But you can either stay wide and do a later braking and then tuck in for a late apex, or you can brake a touch earlier, do more trail braking, and then stay inside. Weather conditions might make one work better than the other. Your driving style can do the same, but try them both out. There's multiple ways to do it. So I'm kind of, again, taking that middle ground, somewhat staying on here, but not holding it all the way tight. And then you can see the concrete patch starts to dip in towards the apex. And then as soon as I see it doing that, that's when I start getting onto the throttle. And then you want to follow this concrete patch for your track out reference. If you're too far out, like if you're following closer to this line, you're not going to make it. If the center line of the car is on this inside part of the concrete patch, you're in good shape. Yeah, if we were on the outside there, we would not have made it if we followed that part of the concrete patch with our particular line. Alright, yet another braking area in a crest. The blind corner part's not really an issue here. It's more the fact that there's a crest in our braking zone. So you don't want to push your braking point too late, because your grip will just disappear. So I'm using a point in between the 3 and the 2 marker, right about here-ish. And yeah, if you carry too much speed through here, it's not going to do you well. I'm still struggling with consistency in this corner, because as I try to adjust my brake point, I have a tendency to go too far, and I either have to lose too much speed to keep control, or I can't lose enough speed and I just plow through. So a little more careful early braking here seems to work best. Once again, concrete patch is your friend. It's a great reference point. And if you stay too close to the outside marker here, if you go beyond that, you're not going to make your turnout. So staying more to the middle or to the right here is going to help you out. Because as you can see, we're still turning, but that has just ended, so we need more space than what it indicates. Now I've been using for this braking point right about where this dust patch is. You can't go too much further beyond that and actually make the corner. If you watched the broadcast race from last season, there's a great example of the camera trained on me where I, instead of braking here, I brake right about here, and I missed the apex by about 17 miles. So yeah, don't brake here, brake here. And I'm about to do some counter steering because the back end seems to get loose through here. So just keep that in mind, just the way the track goes and the way that we're turning in, the back end can get a little bit loose. But that's okay, it helps the car rotate around, as long as you don't go too sideways with it, but a little bit of looseness is good here. And then as we get to this concrete patch, I start using that for a throttle point. And by the time we get to the end of it, I'm at full throttle. I've been using the 2 board as my brake point here. And I don't want to get too close to the inside. There's plenty of grip right here where the yellow paint is, but if you get too much further in here, it's a little lumpy and you lose a little grip and you start to slide a bit wide, and you don't want to do that. So don't get all the way tight here because it's going to bite you and you'll have to slide out. And you can use this whole rumble strip. I try not to, and I try to get the car further to the left because there is another sharp right-hander here, but you can use it if needed. Just keep in mind you'll sacrifice a little bit for the next corner. And I've been braking a little before where this black safety barrier ends, right about here for the next one. And I start to turn in. I'm already turning right because I'm still getting to the left from the last corner, but I start to turn right about where this where the asphalt kicks out a bit here. And this particular session, this is default afternoon weather, so the time of the day for this race is afternoon. This is default weather, and it's a pretty hot track. It's a lot hotter than the broadcast split from last year. It's a lot hotter than actually both the races I did last year. But it's right on the threshold of using second gear or third gear. In this lap I used second gear for this corner. In some other practice I did, I used third gear, and that seems to work just as well, but it's right on the threshold. If it's above this temperature, second gear is probably going to be a better option. If it's below this temperature, third gear is going to be a better option, at least with the gearing that I have set up here. Once again, follow this concrete patch. They work wonders. And if you get too much wider than this, you're going to make pretty good friends with the black barrier here. You can get very close to that without trouble. Just don't touch it.